Communication, the human connection, is the key to personal and career success, according to Paul J. Meyer. Why is communication so important in our daily lives? It helps spread knowledge and information, whether that be through authors of books, teaching, relationships, are generally founded upon effective and efficient communication, or companies that exchange business information, as well as entertainment in our society and culture. Communication in its simplest form is the sending of a message, receiving of the same, understanding of that message, and the feedback of it if necessary. The first new communication tool that I've learned in this class is how gender affects communication, whether that be through expressive talk or instrumental talk. Some scholars say that men and women grow up in different speech communities. There are different norms and beliefs concerning the purpose of communication. Women are socialized to practice expressive talk. Communication is the primary means to establish relationships and closeness as well as intimacy, whereas men are taught to practice instrumental talk. Communication is the means of solving problems or completing tasks. And how does this apparent difference come into play? From the early ages, communication influences and shapes us through the games that we play, perhaps. Girls play with dolls, or they jump rope, or they play kickball, and guys play sports, or they're into building, or even Legos, which emphasize structure and the accomplishment of tasks. I think we all subconsciously realize that we communicate differently, but it's interesting to see how that came about. I played sports, excuse me, and we have a different subculture as compared to my sisters and her friends who are jumping rope. Communication and its role can define your relationships and groups. The second new communication tool that I've learned deals with touch and body movement. Researchers state that men are more likely to touch a woman than a woman a man. Some other things would be other sex touch is more common than same sex. Same-sex pairing, women touch more than men. Women are more likely than men to initiate touch as children. Overall, the results from studies show that men do more touching than women. Men prefer a greater amount of personal space. Men try to preserve their personal space more than women. And with respect to personal space, gender roles might be the reason for this. A side and curious note, women tend to be more emotionally positive than men. The one thing that I find interesting is that for me, this is true. I do tend to have an invisible box around me and I try to preserve it. Most men do this as well, and touch is generally a good indicator in male-female relationships of fondness. Women are generally the instigator, which is sort of a permission acceptance according to studies. And I believe this relates to the Johari window. This is the third communication tool that I learned. There are 4 parts of the Johari window that we find. There's the open, which is that which I know about myself. There's a blind window, what others know about me but do not recognize, but I do not recognize. There's the hidden window, what I know about myself and choose not to reveal. And the unknown, the dimensions of me that no one knows. I'm a believer that this concept, because of my own privacy and culture, society is a blend of people, personalities, character traits, and so forth. And knowing what one can reveal about themselves and the depth of that is something that I hold fast to. Connecting to that thought, there's the dimension breadth and depth. The fourth communication tool that I learned is depth and dimension. Depth meaning the level of intimate conversation, and breadth, the range of conversation. As the saying goes, we do not talk to everyone the same way. There are unspoken rules to how we communicate and what we communicate. Water cooler conversation will be different from eating at a restaurant with your closest friend. I knew this to be, but the clarity of the definition was something that I had not been exposed to until this class. The last communication tool dealt with image management. Image deals with the way we see ourselves. Image management is collaborative. We manage multiple identities. Image management is complex. The way we socialize is affected by our image and its acceptance. You can present yourself as confident, but if it's not believed, then how does that affect your image? As the saying goes, be yourself because people can generally see through a facade. Furthermore, how effective do you manage your multiple images? I am a son, brother, student, college representative, employee, and so forth. Each identity is separate but connected. You cannot stop being yourself, but nevertheless, each is an image that associates with its role. That leads to the revelation that image management can be complex. An example can be when we take work home. You may be the boss at work, but you are dad at home, and different means of communicating an image presentation is needed. To effectively communicate, We must realize that we are all different in the way we perceive the world and use this understanding as a guide to our communication with others. According to Tony Robbins, Curtis himself would love to communicate or continue to develop his communication skills, and learning more how the Johari window affects my style, depth, breadth, and other understanding of myself will be interesting going forward. I believe that I am an effective communicator, but like any art, perspective can reveal something you may have not noticed. This is the reason Curtis will continue to hone his communication skills, and this class has been extremely beneficial for him. So I hope that you've enjoyed this little excerpt of what we have learned this semester, and I found it to be truly inspirational as well as informational. So you have a great day.